Welcome everybody to Compas on the Beat. I'm Fernando Ramirez. That's Gilbert Manzano, and that is Dan and Dago. Let's just get it going right away. The Chargers have officially fired Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley, and Jay Rogers is also gone. But Gilbert, just right off the bat, what did you make of this? I mean, they got the thrash last night, 63-21. Just something unprecedented. 7 different guys scored touchdowns last night. The Raiders only had 3 red zone opportunities, Gilbert. Make it make sense. What do you make of this move?
Yeah, first of all, I want to hear from the listeners and viewers who are jumping on right now for this live reaction of the Chargers firing Brandon Staley. Drop a comment, give us your takeaway. But Fernando, I'm not surprised, but then I am sort of surprised. I know you guys are at the airport, by the way. They're at in Las Vegas. And Fernando, I want to hear your stories from the locker room and your night. But you want to go mute just for right now because it's kind of loud in the background. Well, I share my thoughts here, but I am a little surprised, but then I'm not, because when you lose 63-21 in prime time, Spanos is there, Tom Telesco is there, everybody's there. But we've seen Tom Telesco hang around for 11 years. We've seen this team, give Lynn and McCoy an extra year, a 4th year. And it's kind of like, are they going to do it? And they don't fire coaches in season for now. You know this very well. I think I saw, 1988 or 1985, whatever the heck it was. But enough is enough. This team has Justin Herbert. They have, a good amount of talent. They got old very quickly. But the way this franchise operates, I think I'm surprised about that, Fernando. But it was the right move. We saw enough. Brandon Staley was, great to work with. It was good to me when I covered the Chargers, but the defense, it just was not working. And then you add the offense with Kellen Moore. I thought Kellen Moore was going to go off. They regress. Special teams is okay, but that's about it. You need 3 phases to work here, Fernando, right?
Exactly, and that's what Brandon Staley said last night. He felt like not all 3 phases had performed in the game, but it's been inconsistencies all year long. It's been the offense performs well, special teams performs well, defense, but none of them have done it together and consistently, and that's what led to this. But Dan, just real quick, what are your thoughts on what transpired in the last 5 hours?
Well, it's been absolutely mental proof. That's all I can say right now, because again, we all knew, you don't have to be an insider to understand that at the end of the season, it might have not have gone his way. But just doing that in prime time again, you still have, because remember, everybody forgets how loud the noise was calling for the jobs after last year in Jacksonville. And I said this last night on What's Up Bolts. I think the biggest thing that this does is it brings back everything from Jacksonville and it adds on top of it. And I don't think there was much you could have done to survive that. So, obviously probably the right move, but again, it's going to be interesting to see what process they go through this offseason, because, this would be essentially, I think it's their 4th. If they hire another first-year head coach, it'd be their 4th first-year head coach. And I don't know if that's going to be the recipe for success or not. I think the biggest problem, and I saw this today and I completely forgot about it, Justin Herbert is now going to have his third head coach in 5 years. And it'll probably be, and I used to have this down because when I had to bring out the shield, you remember the shield to protect Herbert.
Like 3 OCs at Oregon. 3 now in the NFL.
Yeah, he's at this is going to be like his 4th or 5th OC. So it's I don't know what more you can ask of the guy. And I think this has been sort of some of the problem is there's no consistency. There's no clear vision at all. And, look, this guy needs head coaching experience. Exactly. And this is what we were talking about coming to the airport. I think the biggest problem people have also is that when Marty got fired, I think, or one of them, they interviewed Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, I think, and Rex Ryan. Ended up hiring Mike McCoy. And, of course, we've seen what the other guys do. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can avoid that this offseason.
That's some great points, Dan. Sorry, Fernando.
That was actually – yeah. No, I was going to say the Andy Reid one was that
McCoy,
year.
Right?
The John Harbaugh and those guys was the North Turner when they hired North Turner.
Wow. Yeah, but you get it.
Yeah.
My timeline's blurry. half of
I
these
know.
2 nights filled of whiskey and country music, you're making me, confess to this whole airport what I've been doing, dude.
And real
My
quick, because
timeline's
I don't
crazy.
want to add salt to the wound, but Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni were both coaching with the Chargers under Anthony Lynn. So there you go.
And you see what they're doing, right? And that's the thing. It's like, and this is what I said last night on What's Up, Bulls. It all starts at the top. They need to figure some things out. I just don't know. I think almost, we've kind of tried president of football operations. Maybe you try and step back, think what's better for the team, see what needs to happen, because clearly what's been going on now has not worked. Because it just has not worked so far, and I think it's only going to get worse. I think it's been pretty bad. So I don't know. I don't know where really you move on from here. What's the messaging to the fan base and everything else? Because remember, the most important thing they have to do now is find a way to fill seats, get asses in seats for next season.
Fernando,
Was I lag out? Am I gone? Oh,
no,
okay,
no,
okay.
I wasn't know if I was going to say anything. But before Fernando, I want to hear your reactions or your thoughts to the locker room and just being there and that vibe in the press conference with Brandon Staley. I want to hear that, but I just want to go off of Dan's point. Like, yeah, maybe enough with the first year head coaches. You need somebody who has experience, who has discipline, and I was staring at this coaching staff roster last night when it was like 42-0. I'm like, they got to fire him right now. And I still was unsure about them firing Brandon Staley, but enough is enough. Credit to Brandon Staley for doing the interview, before halftime on the Amazon Prime broadcast, saying that's not us, and I still believe that the players like them. He was very confident when somebody asked him, do you think there's a disconnect there? And he said, no, go talk to the players. You're going to find out in the locker room. And I think I read your story, Fernando. Khalil Mack, Derwin James, a lot of players went to bat for Brandon Staley, but that wasn't the biggest thing. It's like it just wasn't going onto the field. They were connected off the field in the locker room, but they were not connected on the field. And after years, it's not 3 years is not a long time, but when your background is defense and you're ranked in the bottom of most categories, and then you just got lit up and you allowed 63 points on primetime football to Aiden O'Connell, who had 0 points 4 days before. So that kind of told you it's time to go. But at the same time, as you guys know, Dan Fernando, Tom Telesco gets a lot of credit for this roster. Top-heavy roster. Yeah, you're hitting on your picks on Herbert, Rashawn Slater, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, but there's no depth here. And we keep looking at the other team in L.A. with the Rams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. They have these fifth-round picks that they're hitting. So they were a package together. And honestly, I'm not even sure they were in sync together, Telesco and Brandon. Because when you have a new coach come in and you're going to change everything defensively, philosophy-wise, you better add a mix of roster players. But Telesco probably thought this guy and this guy are better for you, Brandon. And he's like, okay, well, let me try it for a year or two. Then it became 3 years, and it was just too late. But this team with Justin Herbert and a still good amount of players, I want to see Dan Quinn. I want to see like maybe Jim Harbaugh. I don't know who's going to take the job. Somebody with the experience. Like we saw Doug Peterson. People want to write him off. He won the freaking Super Bowl with the Eagles, but after a while, it's like, we don't care about Doug Peterson. Goes with the Jaguars, helps him turn it around a little bit. So guys like that, I don't mind people who get a second try here because when you know what you're doing, and that was my point. I went a little rant here, but when I kept looking at the roster, who's going to be an interim coach here? They lack a lot of experience. And Gibbs Smith has experience. He just hasn't really had it as a coordinator level. And people love Gibbs Smith. I'm sure, Fernando, you could back that up. But they just didn't have a lot of experience, and you need something like that on your roster. And I never understood why Brandon Staley didn't add more people who have been a head coach to kind of help them out and things like that.
So Gibbs Smith has been with the team for years, and he is loved by Joey Bosa, by Khalil Mack. He was the defensive line coach at Georgia Tech for your tribal chief, Gilbert, for Roman Reigns.
That's right, yeah.
You
better ask him that at least one time in the next 3 weeks. I want to hear about that.
Bro, I need to.
Ask him if he acknowledges him, Frau.
Exactly. But it's definitely interesting to see what Gibbs Smith is. I know they didn't want to give it to Kellen because Kellen his head spinning. Fourth quarter offense is not good. They can't run the ball almost at all. I mean, Dan was right last night. I cut him off, and I'm like, stop talking about Isaiah Spiller because he's like, oh, Isaiah Spiller had. I'm like, no, we're not talking about. We're not trying to give anybody flowers here, but definitely is. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys moving forward. But Gilbert, the locker room, it was very quiet. Like it's the most quiet I'd ever heard it. And like I told you, Khalil Mack was just at a loss, like you said. And I saw Justin sitting there, like you've seen him when he loses, just sitting there in like disbelief. And it's so funny. Like I know people love. I know people like Dan hate when they pan over to Taylor Swift and stuff like that. But it seemed like from what I was noticing, Amazon Prime kept on going to Justin Herbert, and there was times where they caught him and he just was in disbelief of what was going on. And I think everybody was in disbelief about what was going on. But Khalil Mack, Derwin, and Khalil both said, we've never been in anything like this. Like, I cannot believe what's going on right now. And Rashawn Slater was asked, hey, do you think the injuries kind of caught up with you guys with Corey Linsley and stuff like that? And he's like, look, this is the effing NFL. Like those are excuses. Like we got to come out here and we got to do better. And guys went to bat for Staley, but it was just too little too late. I mean, there was no way that Dean could come out. And contrary to your belief, John, I know John's very well invested in this. So contrary to your belief, but John has his spoon in every single area of this team. Both of them do. But there was no way that they could go back to them and say, hey, this week we play the Buffalo Bills. We need you guys to go out there and do it. No, that was it. The voice was basically out. And I know guys were going to bat for Staley and going to bat for these guys, but it was too little too late. You had to switch it over, and sometimes you need a new voice. Now, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see moving forward what the candidates are, who they're talking to, because I know right now we've seen Dan Quinn, Harbaugh, Brian Johnson, Brian Flores. Brian Flores is an interesting one that like people keep on talking about.
Not Frank Wright, please no.
Yeah, not Frank Wright. Not Frank Wright. Not Frank Wright.
Okay, there you go.
Shut up. Bring the Emperor, dude.
And then, dude, okay, speaking of that would be Anakin Skywalker and Lord Palpatine. Like Herbert would be Anakin Skywalker and Belichick would be Lord Palpatine.
Imagine
the memes are
getting together,
out,
but
the memes are already coming out.
But this is completely right.
Yeah, I like that, Corey.
This guy. I said this last night.
No, well,
I said this last night.
I understand this.
All right, fine.
It's not just about the picks. Like, it's the fact that in the third, fourth, fifth, what have I been saying about the Rams? They've done a great job of third, fourth, fifth, undrafted, whatever. Tom hit on Austin Eckler. Gaps here, there. Well, like he's hit on some guys, but it's not consistent. You need consistency. You need somebody who's going to change the dynamic of this team. They need somebody who's going to come in here and change. You need a game changer, and that's what Dan and I were talking about last night. Is that Marty Schottenheimer changed the culture of this team? Like he did. He made guys do things. Exactly. That's what they need. No more first years. You can't go like that. And maybe they were trying to go off of the, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go get what if we get a Sean McVay and he just hits? We're the innovative team. We're this, we're that. It hasn't happened. Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, Brandon Staley. The two latter were good guys. I enjoyed speaking to them, but it was too much. So moving forward, Dean and John have to sit down and think to themselves, hey, it has not worked. Since John's taken over as president of football operations, it hasn't worked what their mentality has been. They cannot go first-year head coach. In my opinion, and again, I don't know if they have the money to shell this out, and I'm just being completely honest, I don't know if they have the money. But it either has to be Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh. I wouldn't trade for Bill Belichick because their first-round draft pick looks like it's going to be very high. Yeah. But I wouldn't trade that for Bill. Maybe Bill parts ways.
No, you can't.
But
what about a second rounder for Bill Belichick? Because New England's going to
second. Take a second. take a washing machine. I'll send him a
Start this
dishwasher
chant at the
also.
next game. Blank check, Bill Belichick.
Blank check.
That's pretty funny.
That's gonna be a shirt now, for sure.
But yeah, dude, I'm just saying, like, I things have to change. They have to change their mentality. If not, they're gonna still be not. Let alone the second fiddle to the Rams. Who cares about that? But like, the only time national people talk about you is when you lose close games, you blow leads, or you fire your general manager and your head coach. Like, you need to change that narrative. And now, everything they need to do is centered around number 10. That's what you have to think about now. What is best for Justin Herbert and this team moving forward? Like, you know what? I'm going to say it. That's it. You really want a Phillip Rivers 2.0? How many years didn't they have talented rosters? They couldn't get over the hump. Why? Because you never went over that next step. They didn't do it. They wasted the end of Phillip Rivers' career. And so far, Justin Herbert is about to miss the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years that he's been the quarterback. I'm sorry, but that's just the honest truth. What are you going to do moving forward to ensure that you get the best out of your quarterback? Look at the damn Packers. Brett Favre, Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl. One, but hell, one's better than none. Each one won. And then now we'll see what happens with Jordan Love. But you cannot waste Justin Herbert. I mean, four big injuries in the last 2 years. I don't know, dude, but they need to change everything, because if not, it's just going to be business as usual.
Yeah, and
And
going off
I'll leave it up to you, Gilbert.
going off of Corey's point here, like in your point too, Fernando, Justin Herbert should be the focal point. You want to make it work, and yeah, they went with the defensive route last time, and people are gonna be saying push for an OC, a genius offensively, like a Ben Johnson. You're gonna have a lot of competition for Ben Johnson, by the way. I think David Tepper is gonna have the blank check for Ben Johnson there, but I'm still more in favor of somebody with experience, and credit to Ben Johnson, by the way. He could have left to be a head coach last year, and he said, you know what, I'm not ready. Let me go work under Dan Campbell for one more year to be better as a head coach. And I like that point, to not rush it. So maybe he could be somebody who could be a good candidate and ready to go, but it's a little risky. Thing with Dan Quinn, he is defensive background, but I think you reminded me the other day, Fernando. He had Kyle Shanahan as OC. He lets people do their job, and Dan, you're a big advocate for that. Let guys do their job. Stop trying to be a cook in too many places, and get a DC, get a special teams coordinator, and get I would say play caller. That's the key, a play caller. So you be the head coach. And Jim Harbaugh, he does that. He changed your culture. He lets you be do your thing. He's going to be disciplined. No grab ass, right, Dan? So guys like that, I think they need that for a team that keeps losing in the final minutes, and obviously missed kicks. You can't really do anything about that, but it's a lot of poor execution. So when you guys have experience, you tend to clean that up there too. So, Dan Quinn, I do like that. Obviously Raheem Morris could be out there, but people don't like that because he's a defensive coordinator of the Rams, and having Brandon Staley be a former defensive coordinator of the Rams, that won't work out for people. But somebody with experience, I definitely like that. But what about like a Frank Smith from Miami? He doesn't have experience as a head coach, but he's been in the building. He likes to work with Justin Herbert. He fixed the offensive line, then he left, and it goes to crap. So, there's a lot of pros and cons here. And the good thing about firing Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco right now, you're ahead of the game. You get to, do a long, extensive list of candidates.
Start window shopping.
Yeah, do it right now and jump ahead of people, because there might be 10 openings in the NFL, a lot of competition. So do it now. And the biggest thing, too, the game changer is you let go of Tom Telesco. So you want to get a big name like a Bill Belichick or Jim Harbaugh, you're going to bring in a GM who likes to work with that guy. And it's going to be up to the Spanos family to say, all right, Bill or Jim, you want to have full control of this team. We're not going to meddle. Even the son, John, okay, we're going to back up here. Jim, Bill, save us. Do something here. Change the culture. That's the only way I can see those two guys coming in.
It was interesting. I don't know. Did you guys see that Cowherd video that was circling where he talks about that, where owners are scared to give up control of the team and stuff like that, where it's like they would rather lose with control than kind of give it up to a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Belichick and stuff like that. So, a little food for thought. Who knows if that's what it is? Who knows what it is, really? Because like we've talked about, that's already, I think McCoy got 4, Lynn got 4, and here's another 3. That's over 8. What is it? 11 years, I guess, of things that just have not been working. And the other thing is, too, going back to your point where you said you look at the coaching staff and there's not a lot of experience or former head coaches and stuff like that, and again, I'm not in the room, I'm not in the building. This is all speculation as an outsider. But sometimes, when you're a first year head coach or when you're a head coach, you don't want people that can, depending on who it is, you don't want challenges because unfortunately, sometimes when you hire former head coaches and stuff like that, they might want to try and expand their role because they've done it before. Especially if you're a first timer, like it could rub the wrong way and not create like a good cohesive environment, stuff like that. But again, it's all perspective because I know if it was me, I would have hired guys, coordinators with experience and stuff like that, just more than anything to pick their brain, learn, and try and do it that way. But so that could be one reason for that. And the other part, the only other thing, one other thing I wanted to say, I can't believe Eckler was celebrating the first downs, losing
He
like
was like
six
this,
to
yeah.
three. I was like, dude, come on, like he
Or
just looked.
Gerald Everett, the same thing. Like, oh
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God, yeah. I was like, dude, come on. But again, when it comes to all this stuff, it really is going to be amazing to see what they do because again, clearly what they're doing is not working, and they need a guy in there who's going to challenge this team, change the team, and hopefully take the team to another level. Because right now, in my mind, why wouldn't you give up the keys? At least you have somebody to blame at that point because right now you're almost blaming yourself. So, what's going to happen this offseason, I have no idea. Uh, but yeah, it has not looked good all season, and I think. There was something else I was gonna say. You know what? Let me think of it. You guys go. I'll
Yeah.
come back to it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, maybe the thing with Brandon Staley not having a lot of experienced coaches is like you want to bring in guys you trust, and he just kind of shot up into the NFL scene way too soon to build that contact book. So he went back to somebody he knew from his college days, and Joe Lombardi, and he had experience, but it wasn't like he was the one running the show in New Orleans with the Saints. So it was a
Well, he
very
wanted Mike McDaniel and Kevin O'Connell
yeah,
first,
Yeah,
and then
he
yeah,
did try his best to bring in some good
yeah,
coordinators and kept getting blocked. So that was difficult for him. So he did
yeah.
try.
I
But then
remember
the
the
other
other
part of
part
it
now.
too, like real quick, I wonder if like if you get guys who are experienced coaches, and then maybe you feel like your voice won't be heard because he's a new guy, and then people are gonna be going to the other guy, and you don't want to have
Exactly,
that. Maybe that could be
exactly.
an issue there. And one more
Because it
thing
could
before,
undermine them. Yeah,
yeah, so maybe that could be it. The other thing too is like I think maybe Staley got a shot too soon. I would not be surprised if he goes join his buddy in Arizona, becomes a DC over there. He's gonna probably call the
yeah,
plays the head coach or Jonathan Gannon. But
yeah,
he's gonna come back and resurface and do a good job. But it was
yeah.
probably just too soon,
Or
I
go
feel
back
like.
to the Rams. Who knows, dude? You never
Yeah,
know.
he
I
speaking
might
of
was,
leave.
speaking
I
of
was
that,
gonna
real quick, Dan. My bad. Sean
before
McVay
I
did
forget
this from
again.
Gary Klein. Uh, McVay said, "You want to be there for your friend, and I also know what a great coach he is and what he's meant to me. What I've learned from him. There are things that are really challenging, and I've grown up in the business, and there's a lot of tough things. But I know what a great coach he is. I know what I've seen with my own eyes, and I know he's going to respond, and he's got a really bright future. So that's coming
Yeah, he
from
might
Gary
be going back
Klein.
to the Rams.
Yeah, but Dan, go ahead and make
What I
your
was gonna say.
point,
What
and
I was
then
gonna say.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say something after that.
Okay, what I was going to say is, maybe why they're hesitant a little on getting one of these big time names. And again, this is just my opinion and a little bit of speculation. We all remember a few years ago when the whole Gruden thing came out that he was signing 10-year, $100 million with the Raiders and stuff like that. And, yeah, I think it was 10-year, 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
But anyway, the,
I
the
think
point
100.
is like, yeah, 100, 10-year, 100. Yeah, sorry, 10-year, 100. But like the whole point of it is like they probably saw that, in the years Gruden was there, they were never really like a playoff team or a contending team, if I remember correctly. I think the one time they made the Super Bowl, or sorry, they made the
Playoffs.
playoffs. I know the Raiders making the Super Bowl. This is in 2000, dude. My bad. Uh, the one time they made the playoffs was with Rich Bischotta. So it's like, I think part of them they have that fear where it's like we're not trying to get stuck with 10 years or 6 years trying to still pay this guy after he got fired or something like that. But because these guys they're not lightweights. They're
He
not going to
could be
say,
returning to the Raiders.
yeah, supposedly, yeah. I sent you that story, yeah. But they're not lightweights. They're not going to play around because I'll tell you one thing. I think there's going to be some very private conversations where it's like, hey, you guys have your job. I have my job. Let me do my job. Don't over here try and step over boundaries and stuff like that. Because when you have, and again, I assume a Bill Belichick, a Jim Harbaugh, hell, even John Harbaugh, they just let them do their thing, dude. Like, they're like, we understand what you're trying to do. We trust you. Like, I don't think ownership is probably meddling in those franchises. And, it pays off. And again, I said this I was telling this to Frau. People can tell me, well, I think Kraft's kid might be president of football operations, and I think Jerry Jones's kid is something
Yeah.
also. And it's like, yeah, but they have Super Bowls to their names. Like, you have Super Bowls to your names, you get a little more leeway and you can do whatever you want. Like, but right now, you don't even have a division title in the past 10 years, dude. Like, in the past, 11 years that Telesco's been here, we've seen the Broncos rebuild, win a Super Bowl, and we've seen the Chiefs rebuild and win a Super Bowl. Like, and the other
He's
thing,
rebuilt
and
3 times during the Telesco era, and
you
they
see what I'm
won more.
saying? You see what I'm saying? And it's like the biggest thing that I don't know how, because I'll tell you one thing. If I was,
Dan is
if
my
I was,
homie.
no, don't you dare start slandering my name. But if I was Dean Spanos, I'd be on the phone with Amazon or whoever, because that graphic of charging is a bunch of horse shit. Forgive my language. For a public network to literally slander them like that, in my opinion, it's a bit unprofessional. And another bit, it's
You don't
got to
think
piss them
49 to
off.
0 was a good time to air that graphic? No.
No, it's unprofessional, dude. Like, I get you're bored and stuff like that, but I don't think the NFL, as big of a brand as it is, should result to memeing. Just like I don't like how social media team like to put out these funny things when it's like the season's not going the way it is. I don't need memes right now in my life. I need W's more than anything. Everett was more.
So
I like Everett. I agree with this guy.
Yeah,
I
I
like
think
Everett.
yeah, you're probably right, Moy. It was more a frustration when he was
Eckler really
reacting.
looks selfish. Oh wow! Shout out to
I
this guy.
so I'm gonna tell you why I don't think this job is like everybody's saying. Oh, this is gonna be the job with the most interest. This that like. I'll tell you why I don't think it's gonna be.
Go ahead.
How much are the owners gonna meddle? How much? You don't know. Like I'm telling you, like I would tell them, let me do my like you guys have been saying, let me do my thing. You're 45 million over the cap, and you either have to get rid of Joey, Khalil, Mike, or Keenan, or a combination of two, or maybe even a combination of three, or re-sign them and give them different contracts. But that's the thing. There's a lot of reasons why this might not be attractive. Because I mean, yeah, Justin Herbert, yeah, it attracts you a lot. But the thing is, the team around him, that's the problem, and that's the issue. Like, what is this team going to look like? You have, like I said, over the cap. That's going to be the real issue. I mean, and Gilbert, you and I both know that Thomas pride, like his prized possession, was the fact that they were never in
Appel.
cap trouble. Yeah, they were never in it. Now they are. Now that he's gone, but I mean it's true, and that's the problem moving forward. I mean, the only guys that he really re-signed were Trey Pipkins. Trey Pipkins has regressed.
Let him cook. 100%.
You
Michael
let-
Davis,
you-
your
That was
boy.
all Frank Smith, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And then, but that's what I'm saying is that it just hasn't looked the same, and it's a bad look all around, and I just don't know. That's going to be the one thing, though. I mean, a cap, you can deal with the cap and how to get players and stuff like that, but really, if I'm coming in, if I'm a head coach or a GM, by the way, the GM, Eagles, 49ers,
Chiefs or no?
Chiefs, and maybe even the
Baltimore.
Rams. Those are the only
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay, those are the only
Baltimore.
5 teams I'm going to go poach a GM from. There is no other team that I would say, I want a general manager from there.
Yeah. You know what's one thing also? How patient are they going to be too? Because being over the cap, being as top heavy as this team is, you might need a 1 or 2 year turnaround to really try and start cooking and getting things going. Like it's not going to be end all be all or a quick fix by no means of the word. Not everyone can find, the legal flexibilities of the Rams where they trade everything and then they figure it out later. So it's going to be interesting to see, again, the flexibility, how much they're allowed to do what they can do, and really if they're going to be patient. Because, I mean, I said this last night, Berto, I don't know what you think, but I think right now in the offseason, you really have to sit down and think of a vision, because it's just based off of this season alone. I think it's going to be tough to put asses in seats next season. And obviously, you want to avoid that at all costs, having those type of narratives come back and everything else.
And going off of that, Dan, I think it's huge that they did a full clean house here because you got to have the GM and the coach thinking together in line with the coaching philosophy, the right players. And when Telesco's going through what 3 different coaches, that's 3 different schemes and philosophy. And then you're stubborn with your picks. Well, I like this guy, I like that guy. Can you make that guy work with your scheme? Can you do it? And I think that really doomed Brandon Staley from the start. And then obviously as the years go by or a couple of years, he goes against Khalil Mack. Okay, fine. I'll start trading. Do a trade. I don't want to do that, but we'll do it. They start trying to get more players, and it just didn't really work out. There's probably a bunch of a rift there of who to get who.
There had to have been. I keep going back to this. One time the Chargers posted a video on draft night. I think it was of Rashawn Slater or somebody. And,
it was like Tom Telesco walking behind
yeah,
you.
Yeah. I was like, could you imagine? I'd be like, hey, let me talk to you real quick. Why don't you jump on?
The plane.
I think the biggest thing is that, like, when they drafted Rashawn or one of them, I can't remember who it was, Tom's all smiles, having a good time laughing, da-da-da. Then he gets all serious and just gives the phone to Brandon. I'm like, oh. I was like, I don't think they not a disagreement over the pick, but like a little bit of, between, exactly. You know what I'm saying? We all have those coworkers who are like, oh God, here he comes or whatever. and just stuff like that. Like, I understand you have to have a little bit of they can't be working totally in unison because then we're not thinking critically and other things like that. But you have to have some level of cohesion and camaraderie and everything else, I think.
And before I forget, that game yesterday was kind of a reminder of how how the Tom picks or whatever his philosophy hasn't worked. Like, he really spent 5 years developing Easton Stick to be a quality backup. He even got an extra contract, if I'm not mistaken, Fernando. Like, he was drafted in 2019, was the third stringer behind Tyrod Taylor and Phillip Rivers, was on the active roster. They never wanted to waive him. He must have the most consecutive streak of games of being inactive for the same team for a stretch there. And then he finally becomes a backup after Chase Daniel leaves. And then you get 5 years, and it's not. I get it. It's not his fault when you have a crappier roster out there. No Keenan Allen, no Corey Lindsey, no Mike Williams. But you went 5 years to make sure when crap like this occurs that your backup's going to be at least as good as Aiden O'Connell, who's a rookie, or a Tyson Bagent or Tommy DeVito, and you spent 5 years, and this is what you get. And then you see Jerry Tillery on the other side, getting some tackles for loss and hitting your players actually the proper way, not like what happened the other game. But like things like that's kind of like, this is why we're not getting it right for with Tom Telesco and his Chargers, because you tried things a different way, and it's like everybody's focused on the first round pick. So to me, Easton Stick being out there was a kind of a reminder of like, yeah, they had 5 years to figure this out, and they couldn't even get which is a good idea, by the way. I like when you try to develop a backup because in case emergency happens, you feel good about it, but you didn't feel good about Easton Stick.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, when you saw him in there, and Proud heard me say this all the whole time last night, he has no pocket awareness, and he gives up the ball, in my mind, too easily when he's getting hit and everything else. It's like, dude, you got to have a little bit – like, you see – like you said, he's sat behind Herbert and Rivers. You got to get something.
Tyrod, a good professional.
Oh, yeah, Tyrod.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Shout out to him, dude. Shout out to him. I hope he's doing well.
Keeps losing jobs, by the way. But
the other thing I was going to tell you, when you were talking about the first rounders, I took a lot of flack. Frown knows how much flack I took in group chats and conversation with friends. I was never a Tommy T guy, dude. Like, everyone always wanted to bring up those first rounders. I'm like, okay, let's look at this, right? Those first rounders, either you were top 5 because you had a terrible year, or someone's falling to you at 12 and 13 and everything else. Like, I don't think, it takes a brain surgeon to understand this stuff sometimes. Like, I just have, because this is what tells me everything, in my opinion. I 100% believe, and this is dealing hypotheticals, if Miami takes Herbert, I 100% believe the Chargers would take it Tua. I 100% believe that thing. Like, I've never just been a huge fan of it. I mean, it is what it is now. I mean, I'm not in the front office or any of that stuff, so it's not my beef. I don't stress about these things anymore. You have no idea, Roberto. I've been in Champions League mode since like week 5, dude. I was like, I know where this is headed. This is not going to be good, dude. I've seen this gravy train before.
So Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show. You can ding me all you want, but he said that they were thinking about firing him after the Baltimore Ravens loss. Really? And and then there was another time earlier in the season that they considered firing him. It's funny, Josue. Amon-Ra St. Brown got drafted in the 4th round of that draft.
There he goes. There he goes, reminding us of this
So
garbage.
they had 2 opportunities,
Exactly.
right, to draft
Yeah,
him.
Josh Palmer and
Dude,
and McKinney.
that's not even the worst part. That's not even the worst part, Josue, about picking these guys that have not worked out. The worst part is hanging on to them for no reason, dude. Like, you don't even get them out of here fast enough, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what we're doing at this point. Dude.
How many, Fernando? How many players do you think come back from this current roster? Like, 10 to 20.
I don't think Kenneth Murray. I don't think Eric Kendricks. Michael Davis certainly isn't coming back.
Oh man, that's speaking of undrafted guys that maybe he wants to take credit for. He got another contract, brother. When he had that one good year, he got
don't
a contract.
Even remind me.
Keeps getting burned, and I'm like, come
last
on.
Night, I think he had three of them.
Yeah.
But then you look at.
Let's keep it going, Josue. By the way.
Yeah. No, Josue is over here. He's saying I'm cooking, but he's the one cooking. That's another one. But there's a lot of guys now, if you really look at it, that this draft or the drafting. That's the thing. He always said you draft, you develop, and then you pay. There hasn't been much development, and then like we said,
Rashawn Slater too. Like he had a good rookie year, and then this year's kind of like went down.
Supposedly he was dealing with some issues, but I mean, aren't we all?
I think besides that, dude, I think part of it also is like, why are you trying to patch the offensive line with Band-Aids, dude? Like, you had Sawyer, probably his confidence is sky high at the good job he did at left tackle last year. Now,
I would have moved him to right tackle.
Yeah, I don't think he's looked impressive at all at right guard. And now, who knows where his confidence
Zion
is.
Johnson, what about him?
Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't
Trey
performed
Pipkins
at
also
all.
has not
He's
looked
supposed
good.
to be the safest pick in the draft in 2022.
There you go. Safety.
By the way, I think somebody had said, "Oh, Michael Mayer would be a good tight end," and I mean, I'm going to keep on banging the drum on that one.
Maybe Sam Laporta could have been good, or Tucker Kraft, but who knows?
But what do you know?
I don't know anything.
What do you know?
But I mean, the thing is now moving forward, Gilbert. I mean, what do you think? The Jim Harbaugh thing to me is just like, one, you have to wait to see how he's going to finish the college football stuff, but then at the same time, it's like, are you really going to pay him $11 to $12 million a year? Like, that's a lot of money.
That's why I keep going to Dan Quinn. It goes like Belichick and then Harbaugh money, and then and then they don't want to do it. Well, Dan Quinn's your guy.
Yeah, and I know they're going to want to keep Kellen Moore, and I think Angel was the one that he doesn't like Kellen Moore.
Okay, there you go.
And
this guy knows what's going on, dude.
Dan's been saying this since like week 4 that he was just not a fan of Kellen Moore. But that's the thing, like, who are they going to be able to get to bring in here? And like, because these first-year head coaches, I know people are excited about Ben Johnson, but like, look what's going on with the Lions right now. They're struggling too. So, I mean, and I'm not saying it's his fault or anything. The defense hasn't been that good, but it's just there's a lot.
The Bears really took it to Ben Johnson last week.
That's true.
They're letting down MCDC. It's pissing me off.
So it's just it's one of those things where they're really gonna have to sit back and decide what the future of this team is gonna be like. Is it just business as usual? Like, go get a GM from freaking I don't know, like
the Cold Stroud
or someone like that, and then just bring in a first-year head coach. Like,
draft
how
player.
How about a Mike McDonald? Like, he did a good. He went to Michigan with the Jim Harbaugh, then he was with John Harbaugh in Baltimore. He has a pretty good defense, but I know we've kind of gone down that route. But he's doing a good job with less talent, I feel like.
But the thing is, too, is like, okay, but you're going to bring him in. But then what's going to happen? Like, who is he going to hire as an offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Is he going to want to call the plays? Like, that's the problem now. It's like, dude, whoever you're going to go get, no calling like, you're the head coach. You're not the offensive coordinator. You're not the defense. Like, you're the one that has to do this. But I talked to a source, and they said accountability was one of the things lacking with this current with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Accountability. So, I mean, I think you've heard it before too, Gilbert, that accountability was
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Was something that was lacking. So, bringing LeBron for tight end. This guy, bro, LeBron can barely take the hits in the NBA. Can you imagine in the NFL? Like that'd be interesting. But
Yeah.
let's see.
By
Kellen
the way,
Moore
if you're
made good
watching,
rush.
give us a comment of who you want to be hired as a head coach or even the GM. We've seen a few already, but I want to keep seeing more names out there. We've kind of already given a good amount of lists, right? Frank Smith,
I'm.
Mike McDonald, Dan Quinn, Raheem Morris, Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick. Who else am I missing?
That's basically it.
I think.
Ben
I
Johnson,
think.
obviously.
Yeah.
Don't like Quinn too much. Um, he makes good coordinator hires. Shanahan was his OC. Oh wow, we're international, bruv. Evening from Ireland. Never seen fire like that. Need an experienced coach. Herbert needs a Dungy like Manning. You know what's funny? Okay, back to. Thank you for reminding
There you
us.
go.
Our buddy in Ireland, our compa in Ireland. Um, I think Tom Brady. I'm not freezing. My bad. I know it looks like I'm freezing. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have given our expectations and made us think if you don't win in the first few years, you're a crappy quarterback. And that to me is further from the truth. Why? Because Brian Flores actually would be an interesting one. Uh, Dan, is this you? I know this has to be you. Get the assistant who cheated for Harbaugh. At least he cared enough to cheat. This is
Dude,
Dan, 100%.
That's funny because I do say stuff like that.
But
Shout out to the
but let me
Astros, dude.
let me just
Whatever it takes,
let me
right?
let me just go back to what I was saying.
Whatever.
So Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes won when they first came in, and Tom Brady obviously was a 6th-round pick. Nobody thought he would be who he is. But okay, let's just go with Mahomes. Mahomes has won, but that's because of the head coach and and their stability in the organization, and there's everything you want. But we forget that Peyton Manning struggled when he first. That means Gilbert's time is almost up. If he has almost no water left.
2 water
There
bottles.
was. Oh, there you go. There was stability, or not stability, but Peyton Manning. It took him 4 seasons for him to win. Drew Brees 4 seasons. Quarterbacks take a while. So when everybody's jumping on Herbert's back, and I know we're in this gotcha day and age where everything's about the headlines and this and that, and people just want to have hot takes and all this crap because it is crap. That's not real journalism. And I know the other day I went in on the national reporters and all this stuff. I'm doing it again, yes, but we have to be patient with this guy. People are like, "Oh, Herbert regressed this season." He just didn't. Things didn't go well. I wouldn't say regressed. I would not use that word to say this, but it takes time. And right now, Cincinnati's showing you coaching matters. Jake Browning's in there, and he's making throws that Joe Burrow made. And for whoever tweeted out that this is an indictment on that Herbert is better than Joe Burrow, what we just happened, that's not true. It's just an indictment on how good coaching is, and the weapons that Cincinnati has is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But come on now. Like, that is what matters. Like, head coaching matters. You need a guy that's going to come in here and he's going to say, look, you are going to do this. This is the coach that we need. This is he needs to come in here and somebody who's going to work in cohesion, and somebody's going to say, you're going to handle the offense. You're going to handle the defense. By the way, I would keep Ryan Fiken if I was whoever comes in, that special teams coordinator, I would keep. Ryan Fiken needs to stay. You handle the special teams. I'm going to handle everything. I'm going to be in the offensive meetings, defensive meetings, special teams meetings. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this right. And that is what this team needs. And that's what that is what Justin Herbert needs in a future leader. Not a first-year head coach who's trying to figure things out. He's trying to see who he is. He's trying to find his own voice, his own way. You need somebody with experience, and
Somebody type in fire emojis because Fernando is really cooking right now. So give us some fire emojis real quick. And off of your point, Fernando, I think Justin Herbert really showed his worth and his value of the chaos. No way. Even if he's playing with a banged up roster, they get beat by 42 points because it's the effort. And I don't know if it was because they were trying to check out on Staley. I don't believe that part. I think when Justin Herbert's on the football field, you always believe you have a freaking chance. It doesn't matter the opponent, the venue, the injuries. Justin Herbert always gives you a chance to at least be competitive and win that game. Yeah, maybe they'll fall short. Maybe they'll lose to some stupid mistake, a flag, a drop pass, a missed field goal. but you always have a freaking chance with Justin Herbert, and I think he really showed his value last night.
This is what I was
I
telling
completely agree
Ferrell.
with
Speaking of that, this is what I was telling Ferrell and What's Up Bolton maybe this morning. I thought last night was just kind of like an accumulation of everything. It's been a tough year, everything else. You lose close games or you just look terrible, everything else. But I think you remove, it's like you said, you remove Justin Herbert from that equation, and the team spirit is just deflated. Because I was telling him, like, a lot of the stuff you saw last night was just lack of concentration things, like giving the ball up, fumbling. Like, in one of those, the Darius Davis one, it didn't even look like he ripped it out with that much effort. You know what I mean? It didn't even look like it took that much force. The stick fumbles were not good at all and stuff like that. And, you could tell just from the beginning, it was all the fact that they weren't tackling with proper technique and stuff like that. You could tell the spirit was just deflated. They
Right
probably
there.
went in there with I don't want to say hopeless, but I mean, they went in there, thinking, oh my God, we don't have Justin. How are we going to win this game? Stuff like that. Because I was saying for now, like in my mind, they lose like this against a Bills, against the Kansas City Chiefs, against somebody who's actually, at the top of the conference. It's just oh, you know what? These guys are just that good. You know what I mean? But you lose to the freaking Raiders, who aren't even in a playoff spot and who scored 0 points last week. 100% looks like a damn joke, dude.
Dan, take this away.
What?
Yeah. Freaking Fitzmagic's an idiot. He's not even good enough to touch his jockstrap, dude. Get out of here with that one. This is what I get pissed off at. Like,
Is it Chris
and
Harris?
I've been saying this. I've been saying this since freaking early in the season. You guys think Herbert's the problem? Put stick in there, and we're gonna find out who's the problem, dude. I think you saw that last night.
And real quick, I'm wondering like if and people won't like this take here, but I wonder because Tom Telesco drafted Quentin Johnson supposedly for the idea of the future. He wasn't ready to play because Mike, which was okay because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But I wonder if Quentin Johnson and Palmer maybe they step up and they help out Justin Herbert. But you got to get really aggressive in the draft, right, or free agency to get more weapons. But they got some guys to develop, maybe coaching against those guys, properly. But I'm waiting.
You're probably going to lose Mike. You're probably going to lose
Yeah.
Mike Williams.
And maybe, I don't know. I would love for them to keep Keenan Allen. Let us know in the comments too who you want to see come back. Keenan Allen was great. He's great to move the chains, just be an experienced veteran, and to help out guys like Quentin and Josh Palmer. You have young guys to develop, but I'm with both of you. You got to make sure this is all focused on Justin Herbert and not have a guy who's like, hey, what do we do here? What's going on here? Can you help me how to get lunch here? No, give somebody experience and make sure that you're running the show properly while Herbert gets all the attention from the offensive coordinator.
Brett,
I'll tell you what.
I actually really like. Real quick, sorry. I actually like
good.
this. If Mike Tomlin is fired by the Steelers, if he's fired, Brett, I don't know if they would. I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think they might. I think they might fire him. If they fire him, there's going to be teams. Oh, here's a fear. Here he comes. I know. If they fire Mike Tomlin, then I think you're going to see more firings around the NFL because people are going to try and go get him. Yes, I 100% think that they would go. That Tomlin would be in play because I don't think they trade for him, but I think if they can get him in. Then wow, that'd be a game changer.
The offense might be an issue for me. I feel like I like Mike Tomlin, but man, those offenses have been pretty bad the last few years.
Yeah, but I mean, he'll hire the right coordinator probably, or so. Well, they had.
He didn't have the quarterback either, so you might be right.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that's what it is more than anything. Because I mean, the Ben Roethlisberger year, those guys were unstoppable. They were pretty good on offense and stuff like that.
Big Ben's been criticizing Mike Tomlin, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah,
I saw that. I
saw something about that. I was gonna say 100%.
I saw Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown also criticizes. Wow.
You need to chill. I think that's more of a disgruntled employee who might be intoxicated. Who knows, dude? But in my mind, you give me a chance at a Belichick, a Tomlin, or a guy of that pedigree for a second-round pick, you bet your ass I'm gonna send it. I don't care about second-round picks. I want to protect my top 5 pick that I'm supposedly about to get. But I think another thing is, right, I don't think you can mess up this hire because, number one, you need to get ass in seats next year. You got to get people excited. Number two, you have Justin Herbert, and you need to figure out something soon because him making the playoffs once in his 4 or 5 years It's not good enough, dude. The Chargers can't get Marvin Harrison Jr., who's the ideal pick. What were you
They're in
making
the
a
top
face at?
five.
Is that what I said or what? What were you making a face at?
This guy.
Oh, see.
Fernando's reading
Dude,
the comments right now.
This guy's on fire. This guy's on fire, dude. But,
I'm 100%.
but that's what I'm getting at. Like, you already missed
What's up,
out
Kyle?
on Sean Payton. What's up, Kyle? You already missed Kyle. You already missed out on Sean Payton, right? And I understand price tag was heavy. What did they end up trading? Like 2 firsts or something like that? Or
No, one first.
Where's the lot?
oh, that's all it was. That's all.
You
it was?
know,
Okay.
but you know,
it's a lot for a coach.
it was
but on top of that,
Yeah, it was like a low end, right? Yeah.
And on top of that, right? You already missed out on him. I'll tell you one thing: if freaking the Broncos begin that rebuild, like it looked like they did it with the Peyton years, that's going to be a big issue for the Chargers moving forward. So, because it's going to look bad again that they missed out on a head coach who has a vision and has some pedigree.
You know, it's funny. Jorge's been asking about you. He's always like, "When's Jan going to jump on? When's Jan going to jump on?" It took
Shout out to you, Jorge.
To get him in.
You're from an airport. That's the only bummer, but it is.
But he said that it would be a huge mistake if the Steelers let go of Mike Tomlin. That's 100%. Athir is trying to tell me that he told me and that they were going to clean house, and he's like, "I told you." Well, he's trying to get Alex Halabi, assistant GM of the Eagles.
Oh, he's been saying that. Yeah.
That's who. Yeah, he's been saying that for a while. So, if the Steelers they've only had 3 head coaches in their history. So I don't know if they'd let him go, but if they do, then that'd be really really bad.
Can we talk real quick about the top 5 pick, Fernando? Because it's going to be either Bowers, the 2 offensive linemen. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. and you don't need the quarterbacks. Maybe you trade down too. Christmas came early, fellas. Merry Christmas to you, Kyle. But do you trade down? Like if obviously if somebody wants a quarterback and get more draft picks, that might not be a bad play. I feel like
I don't know, dude.
It just depends. Like if you're in need for if the market is that high for these quarterbacks, because again, I'm not a huge. I don't like this draft of quarterbacks, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But I just don't know. I think they should go offensive, obviously.
So you want Bowers, huh?
I think no, but see, you could like drop back into like the 10th, 11th, 12th pick.
Oh no.
And I think you could grab Bowers. But listen to this, Dan Fouts. Well, okay, I'm gonna say I've said you have to change your mentality. And I'm trying to go with history, but I was gonna say Dan Fouts had Kellen Winslow. Rivers had Antonio Gates. Now let's get Justin.
Good point.
His tight end, but no Neighbors, the kid out of LSU. I think that guy would be.
Oh, there you go.
I think that kid would be explosive.
Top 10 pick, right?
Everybody likes Marvin Harrison Jr. and I do too, but I just don't know if he's going to drop unless the quarterback market just goes ballistic and they do that. But and I agree with Josue. They have too many holes. I would trade down 100%. And yeah, everybody's saying that they would trade down. Yeah, they should trade down.
Yeah,
and
sucker somebody to Trubisky this year. Remember that trade the 49ers and the Bears one spot?
And then that was the Mahomes and
Deshaun Watson. And the Bears just moved up one spot with the 49ers screwed it up because they got Solomon Thomas, but they avoided a bunch of Trubisky that year.
But I agree. But you know what? Can they make it into top 4? No, right? Like the 5th is like basically probably the best they're gonna do. Most
I don't
likely,
know, because right now it's just the Panthers are pretty much the lock, and then you got probably the Cardinals, right? Let me double check while you guys are chatting if you want. But
yeah, I think the Cardinals are like they only have 2 wins, if that. I think.
All right, so New England's 3-10.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they beat them already. And then Arizona 3-10, Washington 4-9. So maybe if Washington wins a couple of games, they could go top 4.
Yeah, that would be the only way, really. Yeah, I mean, who knows what Washington's going to do anyway?
Yeah, they're not very good here. But, and Bears could get some more wins here. Teams are winning. The Giants are winning. The Bears are winning. Maybe the Commanders fight. The Commanders are ready to roll over. Ron Rivera might be next to get fired. Unfortunately, he's a Compas.
Oh, you know he's going to be next, dude. New ownership. They let him do the tryout year. Then next year, I think, is when they're really going to start making moves. Because the thing is, too, if you have some of these big-time coaches on the market, the Washingtons of the world and some of those guys are really gonna shell out that cash because they
Oh
need
yeah,
someone with
new ownership too.
vision and pedigree to really rebuild that brand because especially like Washington, that brand has been in the pooper for a few years, dude, with
Now,
rebranding twice, thrice, not having
if
very
you're
good
Jim
teams.
Harbaugh, if you're Jim Harbaugh, don't come in here and like recklessly with the 5th overall pick draft some guy out of Michigan. But Jim's been,
Oh yeah, JJ McCarthy,
yeah, but
backup.
Jim's been in here. Like Jim knows the college football landscape, and he's coached in the NFL before, so he's kind of giving you the best of both worlds. And I'm sure Jim, with everything that he's seen, he knows what the next 4 years are going to look like in this draft. But I'm definitely interested to see what happens with this because like we said, this is an important head coaching decision. Business as usual has not worked with the last 3 head coaches. You need to change. Even when North Turner didn't work out, like they need to do something completely different. So I just think that I think that they need somebody who's going to be a game changer. And can you afford a game changer? That's going to be interesting. I've seen some Bieniemy questions.
Yeah,
The Bieniemy one, like the only thing is that's another first-year head coach, and I know that the Chiefs have not looked good this year offensively. Maybe that's because of Bieniemy. We saw the tantrum that Patrick Mahomes threw. Would that happen
Don't
with
even
Bieniemy there?
remind me. Don't even
I've heard
remind me
that.
of that garbage.
I've heard that Bieniemy is a big MFer. Like he'll like MF a guy. He's not scared of it. He's old school. So that would be interesting. He used to play for the Chargers. So, but I
that's
just don't
true.
know if he would be the guy. But
In the comments, real quick, which former Charger would you rather take, Harbaugh or Bieniemy, dude? There you go.
Oh,
Put up
Harbaugh.
the old Charger picture.
wait,
No
Thier,
hesitation.
you would trade all that for Justin Jefferson? Man, if they only knew about Justin Jefferson.
Can you stop spreading lies at the air? Don't say breaking news and scare people like that.
Thier's over here. Do you guys think Herbert has some input in the hire?
It has to, right? He just got
You
paid
have
300
I
mil
don't
pretty
think
much.
so. I don't think so only because I don't think it's in his nature. He seems like one of those guys who just literally wants to get out there and
Yeah.
play football, which
He
I
won't
respect.
suggest it. He won't go and demand something, but go
But
talk
let
to the
me
guy at least.
but let me tell you something. That's a dangerous road in my opinion, because again, I was never in the rooms, I don't know, but I wonder how much the previous quarterback played into making decisions and things like that. You can't, like in my opinion, you can't let players all of a sudden become, directors of player personnel. They have a job to do,
Yeah. Look at Aaron Rodgers in
because
New York right now.
exactly, because sometimes they want to bring their buddies, which don't fit the team and other things like that, and it just doesn't work. It's the same thing in the coaching world. Like you have to get, obviously, preferably get guys you trust, hopefully your buddies and stuff like that, because you guys can work together. But you can't just fill a full staff of your friends, because then no one's going to want to contradict you because you're the one who brought them in and stuff like that. And it just doesn't usually pan out the way you think it does, because you need those guys who are going to bring a different way of thinking to it. And then it's like, okay, we can, I like what you said. I don't like what you said. I like what I said. And then you could patch it somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't let players become directors of player personnel, because I think that's when it gets all muggy and foggy.
By the way, Dan, I'm gonna
Somebody
get your.
said,
I was gonna
my bad.
say
Go ahead.
real quick. I know what you're gonna say, Fernando, but real quick, Dan, I'm gonna get your scouting report on the 2 top tackles in the draft. The guy from Notre Dame and Alabama. So some homework for you.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'll look that up. I'll look that up later.
I can tell you about a Joe
Oh
Alt
yeah,
all
I thought
day.
he was joking, but this is actually real. He could have been the interim head coach right now.
Yeah, he played for the Chargers. Yeah, he did, and I think someone else famous played for the Chargers for a little bit.
Jim Hill, no?
No, yeah, Jim Hill, but I think no, Dan. I think you're thinking about what's his name. But he played for oh my God, Apollo Creed. But he played at SDSU, and then he played for the Raiders. So, but yeah, I mean, and honestly, guys, we really appreciate all the feedback. I mean, this is a crap ton of comments, and you guys have been completely awesome today. So shout out to you guys. Carl Weathers, thank you, Jorge.
You
Carl
go,
Weathers, yeah, he was the one.
He's Apollo
But
to me,
Joe,
whatever.
Yeah.
so when I came in, I think Joe was he was either a freshman or a sophomore. I can't remember right now, but but Joe Altman, everybody was very excited about him. I think he was he was going into his sophomore year. I think he's a junior right now. I can't remember, but Joe Alt was a guy that
Are we copying and
Oh,
pasting
wow.
comments? Go ahead, man.
No, that wasn't me.
Shout out to our friends from Ireland. I love Irish whiskey, dude. You guys do some great stuff out there.
They were
Look at
trying to
this
give me a
guy.
compliment, and then they insulted me at the end by saying I'm a fan. I'm not a fan, but
Uh,
He's not a fan of this team. He's a fan of the
Yeah.
Chiefs. He's a fan of the
Yeah.
Ravens. Who
but
else
so,
is he?
so Joe,
I'm
Joe
a fan of
Alt
teams
was
that are
very-
well coached. There you go.
You're brutal, dude. You're not pulled punches today. Heel. Let the heel come out, dude. Let the heel come out.
He was a freshman. Yes, he was. Yes, he was a freshman. He was coming off of his freshman year, and he was going into his sophomore year when I was there. And everybody, Dan is a big fan of Becky Lynch, so maybe that is true.
He's a fan of
I'm a
the
big-
rodeo. How about that for
Hey,
Dan?
this guy, yeah, he knows. Oh, well, I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to be super blunt, but I got a chance to get out there, and let me tell you, them lassies, they're fire, dude.
I was told that Joe Alt is going to be the next big-time left tackle in the NFL for the next 15 to 20 years, or 10 to 15 years.
The problem
guy's
is you
very
got a left tackle. You're gonna move the guy to right. Who's gonna move the right? You know, so only.
I mean, if you did, you have probably the best tackles in the NFL, and you'll have them for a long time. But I just don't know if they'll go do that. It depends on who's the head coach. But there's no denying that it would be really impressive to see if that really would happen. But Joe Alt is incredible. I mean, the dude is literally whoever signs him. It's like signing Quinn Nelson. Like the Colts have stability with that guy. Well, I don't know how he's doing this season, but we all know he's an all-pro. This guy's an all-pro, all-generational left tackle.
Pinche Marty, I saw your comment. I'll just say that.
Hey, if that's Marty Rasco and you leave my boy alone, shout out to you, Marty.
It is.
You know Marty?
Yeah, that's my
they play
teammate.
football together.
We won 2 championships together. Shout out to
nice.
you, Marty.
Okay.
Let's go, Saintsman, dude.
+1. What's the question here?
I don't know. Does Bill Belichick feel like a retrend coming to coast his way into retirement? No, because of one thing and one thing only. Remember, guys, you know Bill Belichick hears everybody saying, "Oh, he can't win without
100%.
Tom Brady. He
100%.
can't do it without Tom Brady." He's close to Don Shula's record of most wins all time. He's still hungry, and I 100%. And guys, go check out my interview with Doug Keat, our good friend Doug. Shout out to him and his family. But Doug told me, he's still hungry for this. Like, Bill lives, breathes, and dies football. So if he's still hungry, then 100%. As long as you got somebody who's hungry, somebody who's going to take command, why not? But folks, we've been at this for an hour and 3 minutes. We appreciate everybody who jumped on. We unfortunately, Dan and I have to catch a flight, so we're gonna cut this right here. But thank you guys so much. Final thoughts, Dan?
Because we're leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, babe, I hate to go. I think that's how the last part was. I forgot.
Spanos did. Oh, never mind. I'm not
I was about to say, don't
say the rest
don't
of it.
read that username.
You're wild, bro. Like, you're wild.
Oh yeah,
for that one.
You know
but
what?
definitely.
Here are my final thoughts. I want to leave you with something positive.
Dan, could you see Bill Belichick whooping on Andy Reid and Sean Payton?
100%, dude. Like,
ooh,
you
imagine
give him
that conference or division.
This weekend is Chiefs Patriots.
Yeah,
in New England.
And the thing is, I'll tell you one thing. If Bill Belichick does come, hire Josh McDaniels and let them cook another 6, dude. They're going to get another 6 titles. It'll be
That's
all
why
good.
people are afraid of that hire, Dan. You reminded people of why they don't want Bill Belichick. Josh McDaniels
as an OC? Who has a problem with him as an OC?
This is a great one. Oh, snap. Fernando and Dan are in the same airport, so I guess Dan really isn't Fernando with shades.
Yeah, exactly. That conspiracy has been debunked.
You might use some familiar people on that plane, by the way.
Yeah, probably.
And real quick, let me do a promo, Fernando, real quick on the Compas trying to get to Super Bowl Radio Row. If you like the content here, no pressure, but we're trying to get to Radio Row for the 30 in a row. Get back to Las Vegas. Fernando and Dan are in Las Vegas. You might have to just stay there, Fernando, because We're going to be asking for money right
I
here.
like
real quick.
it here, dude.
We're,
I like
we're
it here.
poor, but if you want to help us get to the Super Bowl Radio Row, check out the link in the description or give us a super sticker, or super like, or super whatever on this live here. But no pressure. It's December, that time of year for gifts. But if you're able to donate something in that link, that PayPal link, it will go a long way to helping us get to Radio Row, to buy equipment, and to pay for housing, create more content, do things like this more often. So no pressure. We've had a couple donations, and it meant the world to us. So we really appreciate all the feedback. But this right here, the comments, people jumping on. We got over 50 plus people watching the live. We didn't even promote it. We just kind of jumped on, and people jumped in very quickly. So that's awesome to see too.
I don't know what people have against Josh McDaniels as an OC. I'm not talking about a head coach. Josh McDaniels as an OC was always killer. He was he was the one that made Gilbert and his avocado hating ass. Shout out to you, Jorge.
That's
You know what the hell's up, dude.
Send avocados packing too.
But Josh McDaniels as an OC, I don't see the problem with that. Like, he made what's his name look good? Mac Jones. He made Mac Jones look good. This is what
You're right on Josh McDaniels. He made Mac Jones.
You want to come, Kyle? Shout out to Kyle, dude.
There you go, Kyle. Meet us in Vegas.
Meet us in Vegas, dude. Vegas is dope, low key.
We should have like a get together in Vegas for all the supporters here on Compas.
For real. One thing I'll tell you, I think I'm coming back every December to Vegas with the final rodeo out here. That was pretty cool. I met some cool people out here. But
next December, Dan, I'm down to go to the rodeo with you again. I covered it in Las Vegas. It was an experience,
really?
But I had a good time though.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go to a rodeo, so maybe we'll make that happen next year. We'll see. Compas experience at the rodeos, dude. But anyway, I wanted to leave people with this. Agreed. OC, yeah, no head coach. He's terrible. He's terrible as a head coach. Again, I don't know why the Raiders hired him as a head coach. I mean, you already saw what he did in Denver. Didn't understand that one. But if we're closing up with some final thoughts, I want to tell you all this. Have a great freaking weekend. Hug the people you love. Go get a nice meal. Tell somebody you love them. Make their day. To your moms, your wives, or whoever, girlfriends. Buy them some flowers. Have a nice weekend. Don't let this crap freaking ruin it. It is what it is. It's out of your control. Just every day try to win the day. That's all I got. Dan and
I aren't even watching football on Sunday. We're going to the wild animal park. So
exactly. We're taking our mom out and everything. We're going with our sister.
Yeah.
What is that? San Diego Zoo or what?
Weekend. Yeah.
It's the one in Escondido.
Yeah. But it's cool because you're in the safari thing. So you see lions and all this stuff. Like, it's pretty wild.
Thank you.
Love you too, Jorge. Love you.
Shout out, Jorge.
Well, that's what we do here. Exactly. Shout out to you.
But on that note, thank you guys so much for checking out Compas on the Beat. We will be back on Monday with the live. Gilbert and I will jump on and talk about what's going on in the NFL. How did these games end? Maybe we jump on and do a little Chargers that day. Who knows? Because the game was on Thursday, but we'll see. But again, thank you guys so much for jumping on. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to be a compa, tell a compa. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend.